please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, in the heat of the campaign, Rahul Gandhi called the JDS Janta Dal Sangh Parivar. But today, the Congress party has decided to truck with the JDS and even allow H.D. Kumaraswamy to become the next chief minister. But the suspense is far from over. The BJP has emerged as the single largest party, though it is short of majority, and Yediyurappa has staked his claim to form government. The voters of the state have given a split verdict, and a hung assembly has now put the ball in the governor's court. That's the final tally: 78 for the Congress, 104 for the BJP. JDS playing king and kingmaker with 38. The two independents are trucking it with the Congress party, is the Congress's claims. Before we go any further, here are the sights and sounds of what has been a day of high drama in Bengaluru, which ended with a mad dash to the governor's residence.
Seems to be our number put together are more than BJP.
Congress trying to come back to power from backdoor, which people of Karnataka will never tolerate.
यहाँ पर mandate हमारे favor में है. We will form the government. H.D. Kumaraswamy is going to be the next chief minister of Karnataka.
All India Congress Party has taken a decision to support JDS.
Well, they say even a day is not long enough in Indian politics, and what a day it's turned out to be. In the morning, it looked like the BJP was home, crossing the majority number of 113, but look how the story has played out. This evening, we're talking about the Congress and the JDS coming together to try and form government in Karnataka. The BJP not giving up just yet. Yediyurappa has also staked claim to form the government in that crucial stage. Joining us now to decode what the electoral result of Karnataka means, with us, Alok Prasanna of Vidhi Centre for Legal Policy, Yatish Rajawat of Local Circles, Shailesh Kumar of Eurasia Group, Yogendra Yadav of Swaraj Abhiyan, and we'll be joined shortly by spokespeople of both the BJP as well as the Congress party. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the show. Alok, let me come to you now. Let's start with what the options are before the governor. The Congress party has just held a press conference. Randeep Singh Surjewala, the spokesperson of the Congress party, has laid out why, as per the constitution and also as per legal precedent and the precedent in the last three elections, whether it is Goa, Manipur or Meghalaya, why it would be incumbent on the governor to at least consider calling the JDS Congress combined to stake claim.
In this regard, there is no absolute hard and fast rule. Now, if you look at what the Supreme Court has said and what has happened in the past, the Supreme Court has never said that between a single party, single largest party and the single largest group, you have to always call the single largest group, but you should never call the single largest party. The reason is because this is a coalition that has, or this, let's say this is a grouping that has been put together post-polls. So we don't know if they have a common platform, that it will even last beyond a couple of days. Could be not. In the past, we have had single largest parties called even when they don't have the ability to prove the majority on the House. So technically, there is no wrong about this. The governor can call either the BJP in the present situation. The BJP, which is the single largest party, he can call upon the BJP to prove his majority on the floor of the House. He would also not be wrong to call the Congress and the JDS to prove the majority on the House, since they have at present said that they are together. Now, let us not make it a clear binary here. So either way, he won't be wrong. Now, what happens next is the important issue. Now we have seen, as per the latest tally, BJP has 104, they're not crossing the halfway mark. Now, will they be able to wean away some support from the JDS and the Congress? We don't know. That's an open question. Anti-defection law is in a very bad state in this country. It is not being enforced properly. But if he calls the Congress and the JDS together, and if they win the floor vote, then we are in the clear. Then the Karnataka gets the government.
Absolutely, and it will now all depend on what the governor decides to do. But again, just to go back to the points that have been made by the Congress party on why it is right for the governor to call the JDS and the Congress. In fact, they're also quoting from what Finance Minister Arun Jaitley had said in March of 2017. Mr. Jaitley had then said in a hung assembly, if majority of the elected MLAs form a coalition, and he's talking about a post-poll coalition, which is how the Goa vote played out, the governor would be constitutionally right in inviting the leader of the majority coalition to form the government and prove their majority within a short period. But let's not speculate on that. Let's go across now to Shailesh. Shailesh, you know, I'm not sure if you're necessarily surprised by the fact that it is a hung assembly. I think the BJP has done better than what you were expecting, at least as far as the numbers go. But what does this electoral victory, what does this electoral result mean, so to speak, as far as decision-making is concerned from an economic point of view?
So yeah, thank you. We're not surprised at all by the outcome. Hung assembly is something we were forecasting earlier as well. I am a little surprised, as you noted, that the BJP crossed the 100 mark. We were looking for 90 seats for the party. A couple takeaways from this, though. Even if the BJP does not go on to form a government, let's just assume Congress ends up forming a government. From a perspective of who actually won, the fact that the BJP picked up in excess of 60 seats, the fact that they have now rivaled one of their best performances in pure seat counts in the state is a very good sign in terms of how the party is performing. 4 years into the administration, and they're still able to almost flip a state like Karnataka 4 years in. And this is after the fact that Karnataka has a history of voting against the party that's in Delhi. So this is a very big signal as far as any concerns about is BJP popular or not. Are they going to make inroads into South India? Where do they stand after Gujarat, for example? I think the answers are pretty clear. They may not win outright, but they did win in many ways. Now, as far as economic policy is concerned, one of our views is that there is absolutely no scope for major reforms until the national election. These types of reforms are the reforms that India needs are either disruptive or they're going to cause unnecessary political fights. So regardless of who ends up winning Karnataka in the end, there's no scope for reforms. What could end up happening or where the benefits are is whoever can then control, for example, or add more seats to the upper house from Karnataka, that's a benefit. But the thing is, that takes so many years to materialize. Even if BJP forms a government, nothing's going to change this year in the upper house. There's no elections from Karnataka this year. So we're not very optimistic of this having any significant change on economic policy for the year.
Okay, you believe that we're unlikely to see any significant decision-making when it comes to matters related to the economy, irrespective of whether the BJP eventually does form a government in the state of Karnataka. But Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, let me come to you now. You know, yesterday when we were discussing the possibility of a hung assembly, Mohandas Pai, who was on the show, said that as far as corporate India is concerned, that would be the worst. That would be a nightmare scenario. Given what we are seeing play out with the possibility of the Congress and the JDS coming together and H.D. Kumaraswamy staking claim to the chief ministerial position, how are you reading the developments of the day? And the second point that I want to talk about, again, which was part of our discussion yesterday, the sense, and this was again something that Mohan had mentioned on the show, that, you know, the urban voters, especially Bangalore, he said, would go in favor of the BJP because that was the kind of impact he believed the Prime Minister had made in those areas or those constituencies. But that's not necessarily how it's played out. In fact, Bangalore, the Congress has about 13 MLAs. It's won. BJP has won about 11 and the JDS has won 2. So, Kiran, both on the issue of how corporate India views the developments in Karnataka and B, this business of whether this is or was a vote for Prime Minister Modi and for development.
So, Shereen, the way I read it is that, yes, I think, you know, no one wants a hung assembly, and it's not optimal to have this kind of a situation in Karnataka. And, you know, whatever happens, let's just hope that whatever shape and form the coalition finally takes, let's hope that they really focus on what is required for Karnataka and especially for urban Karnataka, because I think that's been a very, very neglected part of anyone's economic agenda. Secondly, I think if you look at Bangalore, as you rightly said, nothing has changed. So I think the Bangalore voters almost have voted for continuity in some form, saying let's get on with what has been started. But that's not necessarily going to play out depending on what the coalition government, how the coalition government is shaped. The fact is that yes, Congress has been dealt a stunning blow. I think definitely BJP, whether it forms the government or not, has definitely every right to claim moral victory, because it has really, upped the ante. It's got 60 additional seats. So I think from the general election point of view, I think BJP continues to remain a very, very strong and credible force. And I think as far as we are concerned, you saw the response of the market when BJP was beginning to lead. So I think what the business community, I think, wants is stability, wants continuity, and wants a very strong focus on economic reforms. So I think as long as we focus on that, I don't think whether it's a coalition government or not is going to matter. What is going to be very difficult for Karnataka is if a coalition government suddenly, changes its focus on the sort of the whole development agenda for some reason, and sort of again takes away from Bangalore and all that is required here, then that will be very, very disappointing.
Okay, well, we still don't know who is going to form government, so policy making is a debate for another day. But let me go across to Yogendra Yadav. And Yogendra, as we've been pointing out, Vajubhai Vala, the governor, holds the key now to what happens next in this story, which has many twists and turns. Already there are reports coming in, and we have no confirmation on there is a degree of unhappiness in some parts of the Congress party. Some MLAs, the Lingayat MLAs, may be unhappy with the Congress party's decision to truck with the JDS. But until all of that plays out, I want to also bring up a tweet that I think it's a great one that's coming from the Tourism Ministry of Kerala. And what a way to sort of take forward the conversation that we've been having on the possibility of resort politics, which now seems very, very alive. But Yogendra, I want to get your comments on how you see this playing out now.
I love that tweet. I think this is the best tweet of the day. And I said somewhere that in the morning, suitcases were opened, EVM came out, from that came out the outcome and the verdict. And by the evening, the verdict has gone back to suitcases. And we should be tracking suitcases now for the next 1 week or so. That, unfortunately, is the reality. But on a more serious note, let's try and see what this verdict is about. There is no mandate. And there's no mandate not just because no party has a clear majority. Just look at it. BJP has added seats, is the largest single party, but has its vote share is about 6 lakh less than the Congress. Congress party has the highest vote share, but has lost so many seats, is clearly a loser. And Janata Dal S, which has added, which has stayed, has performed very well, has actually lost votes. So in this situation, it's only fair to say that there is no mandate for any party. And while there is a certain political victory, I wouldn't call it moral, there's a political victory for BJP, more like a point victory rather than a knockout. There is a defeat for the Congress. In the case of Congress, it had everything going. It had a chief minister with some social base. He was pitted against a chief ministerial candidate who is, let's say, politely tainted. The BJP was more of a divided house than anywhere else, and there was no visible anti-incumbency. If Congress cannot retain the state in these conditions, then you don't know whether Congress can retain anything at all. So it is clearly a defeat.
No, but what to your mind has gone wrong, Yogendra? And I want to put that question to each one of you, but let me start by asking you, Yogendra, since you talked about how this is a defeat for the Congress party. What seems to have gone wrong? The hope for the Congress was that they would be able to wrest away some share in the BJP strongholds as well as the JDS strongholds. That hasn't quite played out. There was this hope that the Ahinda consolidation would be in favor of the Congress party, which hasn't quite played out. I was speaking with some of our guests earlier today, and the consensus seemed to be that perhaps there was also the overemphasis on Siddaramaiah. One can argue about empowering local leadership, but maybe this was too much. And maybe, that didn't deliver the goods. I mean, he's barely been able to hold on to one of the two constituencies, that he fought from. What do you think has gone wrong for the Congress party?
In the wake of a defeat, the easiest thing would be, the temptation is, of course, to say that the captain was wrong, the fielding was wrong, the bowling was wrong, and the batting was wrong. I think we need to focus on something specific. To my mind, the thing is, for the first 4 years, Siddaramaiah was not into election mode at all. He is very active for the last 1 year, but that's only the last 1 year. And how much can you do in the last 1 year? To my mind, trusting a state leader may have been a sensible thing for the Congress to do. They didn't have too many other options. But the question is, were they raising the real big issues of the state? They were not. And the one thing where they seriously underestimated tactically was the effect of a tacit understanding between JDS and BJP. Which very seriously damaged the Congress in South Karnataka. So all these things put together, but the fact is that a defeat is a defeat, and no one in politics can say, oh my God, my opponent was too strong. That's a reality. And the BJP today has the strongest political machine that India has ever witnessed in the last 7 decades. And Congress was no match for it.
Clearly, no match for it in Karnataka. Let me go across to the Congress spokesperson with us. Mohammed, when we were chatting a few days ago, you said that the Congress was very confident of being able to retain power in Karnataka. You may still retain power if the governor plays ball and you're able to keep your flock intact and the JDS is able to keep its flock intact. That's a big question mark at this point in time. What has gone wrong for the Congress, Mohammed? Let's hear it from you. And I know that, as a consolation, the Congress will say that, look, we got the highest vote share, better than the BJP, and so on and so forth. But your strategy seems to have fallen apart. Why do you believe that has been the case?
Well, Shereen, you're absolutely right. I will begin by saying that we have the highest vote share. And the reason I would begin by saying that is because it's no
I preempted you. I preempted you. So now you're going to...
You did, of course. And the reason I agree with you and must point out that it's a significant measure and one we keep repeating is because it will have an enormous bearing on the results of 2019. I was listening to Mr. Yogendra Yadav right now. I don't see why he is being so critical. The Congress, it's very, our politics is such that whenever results come out and we look at it in binaries, win, lose, the guy who wins, all sins are forgiven. The guy who loses, my God, let's analyze and scrutinize every one of the mistakes he or she made. The truth is,
that's part of the game, Mohammed.
A fantastic campaign. Of course, and I'm not complaining about that, but I will add to that.
Well, if you ran a fantastic campaign, it should have resulted in seats. It should have resulted in you being able to retain your position.
Yes. That's a fair point.
I mean, it's not like
allow me to
the efficacy of a campaign is to result in victory, not in defeat.
No, of course.
Precisely,
and I think the performance that our people put up, of course, we feel that, I don't know who's speaking in my ear, I'm saying that the result we put up is, of course, not what we expected. It is not commensurate to the effort we put in. And clearly, there is a need to analyze. The Congress is one of the few parties that actually, instead of trying to make virtues out of necessities, actually goes back, analyzes, evolves, and comes back stronger. Every single election since Gujarat, we have come back stronger. And I will tell you one more thing. Today, look at this. The BJP, which was celebrating a few hours ago, is now petrified. They're running to the governor. They are arguing against a precedent that they set themselves not once but twice.
No. 1 second. I think both sides are equally nervous. I think both sides are equally nervous. But Mohammed, I want to ask you, how confident do you feel about the possibility of ensuring that these numbers stick? 116 at this point in time. You've got the two independents on your side, is what Mr. Shivakumar claims. But how confident do you feel about being able to keep your flock together? Because reports seem to suggest that some of your own MLAs are unhappy with your decision to truck with the JDS.
Right. Well, I will answer that very simply. 3 points. First is, we have the MLAs on our side. We have the law and precedent on our side. No small measure thanks to the BJP's actions in the last 3 elections. And number 3, we are certain, and Shereen, I don't know if you've seen this, There are rumors coming in that Yediyurappa ji is asking the governor to give him 7 days to prove his majority. 7 days to prove your majority or to horse trade. That is why we are urging the governor. We are ready right now. We will provide the letters of support within the next 24 hours. That is the constitutional standard. We are willing to give it to you. Why are you so hesitant to accept it? We are willing to satisfy a floor test tomorrow, but you're not willing to accept. Now, Shereen, you must ask yourself, who stands to benefit from this?
We don't know whether, no, but there's been no decision that the governor has taken, so we don't know whether he accepts your position or not. But let me,
the people of Karnataka.
Let me also go across to the spokesperson of the JDS, Mohammed Altaf. You know, there is clarity on the fact that it is going to be H.D. Kumaraswamy that will be Chief Minister if you get the opportunity to form a government in the state of Karnataka. You know, explain to us, how long did it take for both sides to put this alliance, to stitch this alliance together?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say that we've already submitted to the governor, along with the Congress party. Honorable Siddaramaiah ji was there, Ghulam Nabi Azad was there. So we have been to the governor's office and we have submitted the joint majority about GDS and Congress to the governor.
But as is the BJP, as is Mr. Yediyurappa, and Mr. Yediyurappa and the BJP claim that as the single largest party, they should be given the opportunity to form government and prove their majority.
That is the decision left to the governor, whom to invite. So we have already submitted our joint proposal to the governor, along with the majority of Congress and GDS. In fact, our JDLP meeting has been going to be held at 9 p.m. today, as well as the Congress JDLP meeting is going to be held. So we have already submitted to the governor.
How confident do you feel, Mohammed, that you will be invited? And Yatish, I'll come to you in just a second, but how confident do you feel that you will be invited? And if the governor chooses not to invite you, it is his discretion. If he chooses not to invite you, what then?
Are you asking me, Shereen?
No, as a majority...
No.
As a majority of 78 and 38...
I'll come to you as well. Yes, Altaf.
78 and 38... 116 is the majority what we have been given to the submitted to the governor, honorable governor. So definitely the governor is going to invite us, and the Congress also has given unconditional support to us, and they have offered Shri H.D. Kumaraswamy as the Chief Minister of Karnataka.
Okay, Mohammed, very quickly, if the governor chooses not to invite the JDS and the Congress, what is the strategy then?
Well, the BJP doesn't have the numbers on its side. It's plain and simple. The BJP, as of right now, in fact, if they had the numbers, Shereen, you remember what happened in Goa? They went the same evening with letters of support. If they had the numbers, they wouldn't be asking for a 7-day extension. They don't have the numbers. They know they'll have to resort to some sort of surreptitious and clandestine political practice like horse trading, and we will resist it. This is not the same Congress. This is not the same trusting Congress that assumed they would abide by constitutional procedures. We are wary now. We know what level these people will fall to claw their way into power. Let them bring it. This time, I assure you, we have the numbers. Whether we have to prove it on the floor of the House or we have to prove it before the governor, sooner or later, we are forming this government.
Okay, let me go across to Yatish. Yatish, you've heard what the politicians have had to say. But what, to your mind, have been the key takeaways from this electoral result, both for the Congress as well as the BJP? And again, you know, I would imagine that sometimes we make these simplistic extrapolations of what this result means for 2019 and for elections at the centre. But what, to your mind, is the single biggest takeaway from the Karnataka result?
There are three key takeaways here, Shireen. You have an incumbent party which has gone to the governor with a smaller coalition partner before the results have been declared. See, remember, the Election Commission of India has not declared the results. They have not said that this party has got exactly this much seats. Both the three parties have gone or tried to go to the governor to establish the government. Okay. That's one takeaway, which is very interesting. Second is, the trust and faith which would typically, a party would have in the constitutional process of forming a government is completely lost. You see the Congress people already saying there is clandestine, there is all kind of machination behind, the governor is not going to talk to us, blah, blah, blah. At the other end, you have BJP also saying that, due process will be followed. And you have the JDS, which tried to meet the governor and tried to establish, again, claim to form the government without the results being declared. This is amazing. What has happened today is completely
I'd like to say
the chart, so to say.
Well,
the third part,
I'll get,
very interesting.
Just one second.
Is that
just one second.
A party which is not even.
Yatish, sorry, apologies, I am interrupting you, but we do have Zafar Islam with us, and he's with us for a very short while because the BJP parliamentary meeting and the Prime Minister is expected to address the BJP shortly. So let me go across to Zafar. Zafar, the Congress party and a lot of other opposition parties are saying that this is karma. What the BJP did in the states of Goa, in the state of Manipur, in the state of Meghalaya is happening to the BJP in the state of Karnataka.
Not at all. See, it is a discretion of the Honorable Governor of Karnataka, and he will use his discretion. But having said that, we are the single largest party, and it is we should be. We strongly feel that SR Bahmai case is something which is evident to everyone, that single largest party, when you get a fractured mandate,
yes, but why? No, I'm interrupting you because what happened in Goa? In Goa, the Congress had 17, you had 12, you had a post-poll alliance, you formed the government. And similar story played out in Manipur, where the Congress had 28, the BJP had 21, and yet the BJP was invited to form the government in a post-poll coalition. Meghalaya, the assembly strength of 60, the Congress 21, the BJP had 2, and you were invited to form the government by the governor because of a post-poll coalition. So how do you respond to that?
Shereen, if you see Goa, you're talking about Goa, the Congress party never claimed to form the government. They waited, and did they make any representation to the governor?
Yes, they waited. They staked claim after. You were quicker. You pulled the trigger faster. But surely the principle should remain.
Since they didn't make any claim, and we formed the government purely because we had the number, and we could demonstrate that we can give a stable government in Goa. That's why we could governor could invite us. So if the governor has
at least the Congress has learned its lesson from Goa. It seems to have learned its lesson from Goa. But Zafar, very quickly, what next? I mean, the decision rests with the governor. If the governor uses his discretion to invite the Congress and the JDS, what then?
See, I mean, if should he decide to invite Congress and JDS, it is his discretion. We will welcome it. But we feel strongly that given we are the single largest party, the people of Karnataka have posed confidence in Bharatiya Janata Party. The incumbent government has been completely discarded by the people of Karnataka. So there is a very strong possibility that governor will definitely take these things into account. And there is no pre-poll alliance. These are all post-poll alliance purely because they feel that there's a fractured mandate, and they only through this mechanism they can form the government. That
Zafar
is something
Islam,
which may not be so.
Are Congress MLAs reaching out to you? Unhappy Congress MLAs reaching out to you? That's the buzz at this point in time.
I mean, this is all in the media, and I can only say that these are all speculation. I can't comment on that, but all I can say that we are only based on the numbers, based on the single largest party. We feel that we shall be invited, and we shall be given time to prove our majority on the floor of the parliament.
Okay, let me get a quick comment from Mohammed. Mohammed, respond to what you just heard there from Zafar Islam, and you wanted to make a quick point.
Yes, very, very quickly. Zafar Sahab, मुझे बड़ी खुशी होती है when all of a sudden you people become experts in a law which you and your leaders, led by Mr. Jaitley, wrote lengthy and eloquent articles speaking against when you formed the government in Goa. Mr. Jaitley's blog is very educative. I suggest you read it. It is still available today, where he argues that the principle is observed within the discretion of the governor, and he may invite the party which either puts forth the largest coalition. If there is a hung assembly, you haven't crossed the halfway mark. So we have as much a claim as you do as per the law. K.R. Narayanan Saab, one of India's most illustrious president, by way of a communique in 1998, he said when there's a hung assembly or a hung parliament, he has the discretion to call whoever puts forth the largest number of members, even in the form of a post-poll alliance. So, sir, I'm sure these more eminent persons, and sir, of course, you should remind me, we went to Goa against you, we went to Supreme Court against your Goa decision. Don't you remember we went to the Supreme Court against your Goa decision when the governor refused to invite us? Justice Keher, heading a 3-judge bench, refused to entertain our petition. We argued Bomai only, and we were told, no sir, even if you have the largest number of seats, it's fine. So you can argue with the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, you can argue with the former President, you can argue with Mr. Arun Jaitley, but the law is against you today.
No, let me ask you one last question.
All right.
The Congress was making a lot of representation, giving reference to S.R. Bomai case. Today, have they changed their stand? They didn't make claim that time, and we were able to put
educated in the law by you, apparently.
And now you are simply making a very different stand. That's very unfair. When you were quoting about
clearly they've learned from you. They've learned from you, Zafar Islam. It seems to be very clear that the Congress party has learnt its lessons from the BJP. But let me move on now and talk about what we can expect going forward. And I want to go back across to Yogendra Yadav. Yogendra, again, as I said, we make these simplistic extrapolations sitting in television studios, but politics is a very different ballgame. What do you believe the Karnataka verdict means as far as the possibility, A, of an early election? Again, the chatter has started on that, despite the fact that whether it's Amit Shah, the Prime Minister, or Mr. Jaitley, they've repeatedly said that there is no chance of an early election being called. But what does this now mean as far as national politics is concerned and for 2019?
I must say I really enjoyed this conversation on what the governor should do. Utter exercise in mutual hypocrisy and euphemism, if I may say so. I love the fact that all of us refer to the governor as if we have some neutral constitutional authority sitting there looking at the constitution. May I suggest that those who know politics would say the name should be replaced by Mr. Amit Shah. Anyway, let's move on and think about what would happen in future. What happens in Karnataka is something all of us know. Finally, BJP government will be formed, no matter what the numbers, no matter what the constitution, no matter what the precedents. Anyway, on the larger national scenario, to my mind, today's verdict does not suggest continuity of the Modi popularity wave. So something which was stalled in Gujarat and was seriously challenged in a series of by-elections continues to be the case, because if there was Modi wave, I would have expected BJP to be at least 4 to 5 percentage points ahead of Congress. That would have been a big swing. That has not happened, and Mr. Modi would be the first person to know that this hasn't happened. Number two, the story of Congress resurgence, Congress on the way back, has also been punctured today. Congress is not on the way back. That's really not happening. And that is where the big vacuum is. And Mr. Modi would be very deeply aware of the vacuum. While a certain tiredness has begun with Mr. Modi, there is no corresponding gains for the leading opposition party, the Congress. And Mr. Modi, being a smart political actor, someone who's willing to take risk, might wish to take use of this opportunity to have early elections. Of course, he will not give you interviews saying, I'm planning to have early elections. That's not how you do it.
Well, I want to pick up on those 2 points, and Alok, let me come to you with that. What we saw today, post the numbers that came out, whether it was Mamata Banerjee, it was Thomas Isaac, the Finance Minister of Kerala, everyone tweeting saying that this result would have looked very different had the Congress and the JDS decided to fight together. If it was a united JDS and Congress, this result would have looked very, very different. for 2019, the only way to stop the BJP from continuing to win or gain, do we now need a significant united opposition, a Mahagathbandhan, for the lack of a better word?
Can I first disagree with, I mean, I'm not a great politician, but I think it's kind of ridiculous to expect that the Congress and the JDS will have an alliance for local assembly elections in Karnataka. Definitely not a pre-poll alliance. Yes, we may find that they may come together after the elections, seeing the results, but it's kind of ridiculous because they are in direct conflict with each other. I mean, it's a bit like, to take somebody who made the suggestion, it's a bit like saying Ms. Mamata Banerjee should, the TMC should ally with the CPM for the upcoming elections. That's not happening. So in the context, purely in the pure context of local election, that is not happening. In the context of the 2019, who knows? It's not possible to predict. The reason I say that is because in 2013, Karnataka voted overwhelmingly for the Congress. 2014, Karnataka voted overwhelmingly for the BJP. Go back 5 years. 2008, Karnataka voted somewhat in favor of BJP, but it voted again overwhelmingly in favor of the Congress, of the BJP in 2009. Nothing tells us how Karnataka will vote in 1 year ahead, even 1 year ahead, because the dynamics, I think, of a national election are completely different. The average Karnataka voter sort of knows what's at stake in a local election. They know what their local MLA is capable of, and they know who they're voting for in a national election for the Prime Minister of India. So I think, you know, we should just say that this happened. I don't think it'll have any bearing whatsoever on what happens in 2019.
Okay, you don't believe it'll have any significant bearing on what happens in 2019. Yatish, I'll come to you now because you did a poll to mark the 4-year anniversary. Yeah, to mark the 4-year anniversary of the Modi government. On the point that Yogendra made, that this doesn't suggest that the Modi popularity or the Modi wave is intact. What does your poll tell you, Yatish?
So, I mean, Mr. Yadav believes that there is a vacuum, and I believe that the Swarajya party may fill that vacuum sooner or later. But our poll shows a very different picture altogether. There seems to be still a lot of 57% odd people still believe that Modi has met expectation or exceeded expectation. 43% people believe that he is below expectation. We did this poll on 22 odd parameters, and though this is the 4th year of the government and this is the 3rd time we've done this poll, the numbers are coming down, but they're not coming down so dramatically that it will make an impact on the popularity that the Prime Minister continues to enjoy. You can ignore the popularity that the Prime Minister enjoys because you have an ideological position against him, but you cannot remove it from the minds of or the perception of the people just by opposing it. That's one point. The second point, you know, I was listening to this argument between the BJP and the Congress. I think this whole issue is finally going to rest in the Supreme Court, because I don't think so the desperation that is happening with one party struggling for relevance and the other party establishing dominance, that this will not go to the Supreme Court. Irrespective of what the governor says or does, this decision is likely to end up in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, that is what it seems like at this point in time. But let me go back across to Kiran and Shailesh.
The composition of the sample we are talking about.
Okay. Yatish, very quickly, the composition of the sample, please.
So this is
how many rural, how many poor?
I don't know who asked the question. So this is 62,000 people. Okay, across 250 districts. Okay. And Mr. Yadav is an old suffragalist. He must understand that, you know, you do sampling when you are not confident about capturing the jaggers, so to say. This is a perception study across such a large number that we are able to capture the perception of the people. We are not predicting votes. We are not predicting voter margins, which I have seen over the last 20 years fail successively by every sociologist in this country. So we've covered 250 odd districts in this.
So how many rural people, how many poor, how many women? Simple question.
Simple question, Mr. Yadav. That is not the basis that this survey has been done. It's not. You do the socio-economic bifurcation based on the fact that you are trying to represent the rest of the country. So that's sampling, and you know that. This is not a sample-based
In which case, please
survey.
stop making any claims about it for the country. This is not country's poll. Let's not. I mean, this is an elementary professional protocol that we report the sample. If we don't, let's not make any claims about it.
Okay, I will let Yatish and Yogendra Yadav battle it out on polls and surveys. But let me go back across to Kiran. Kiran, you know, what is it that you're going to be watching out from here on? As Shailesh was pointing out, you know, most people don't expect any significant shifts as far as economic policy are concerned. The macro environment is getting to be a little more challenging now, especially with crude prices at $80, inflation starting to pick up, etc. From an economic perspective now, Kiran, what will be the triggers that you would watch out for? You've got big ticket items which are politically controversial. You've got the Air India disinvestment, which is coming towards its possible closure. We don't know if it will or it won't. What will be the next big triggers that you would watch out for?
Well, I don't think we have so much time to look at big ticket items to come into play, but I think just delivering on some of the you know, ongoing reforms that we are really addressing is going to be important. I mean, I think you know, GST has begun to basically start leveling out, so I think that should be good for the economy. I think definitely this disinvestment is a very important low-hanging fruit for the government to focus on. And I think, you know, we have to also look at some of the other factors. I think we must focus on exports, and considering the fact that the rupee is now beginning to depreciate, actually could augur well for exports. So I think exports is something I would like to, you know, focus on and see if we can, you know, improve the export performance of our country. So I wouldn't expect any big ticket items to be rolled out in the next 1 year. It doesn't make sense for the government to do that. I think it just needs to focus on making sure that its existing reforms are actually leveraged in a better way. That's it. And, you know, as far as Karnataka is concerned, I think we have to wait and see what happens over the next few days. But whatever shape and form the coalition takes, I think we should really make sure that we focus on improving our urban infrastructure, because that's where 60 to 70% of our GDP in Karnataka is, you know, provided from. So I think that's what I would like to see in terms of the new government.
Pictures there from the BJP headquarters, Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah getting ready to address party workers. But Shailesh, what could be the determining factors now that could decide the future course of the crucial states that go to vote? You've got Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, the Congress feeling confident about their chances in both those, but they were feeling confident about their chances in Karnataka as well. And of course, for the big one, 2019, what do you foresee as being the determining factors?
One critical point to mention: one state election does not determine national elections. I think that point has been mentioned in the past. I think the most critical factor to keep an eye on going forward is inflation and where inflation heads. You alluded to crude prices increasing. There's two very sensitive factors affecting India today. First is crude. The second is U.S. Federal Reserve interest rate policy. In the past, the Modi government removed the oil subsidy around 2015. They turned it into what they call a carbon tax. Now with prices elevating again, the question is, will they reintroduce the subsidy to make sure the pass-through effects on inflation do not hit the Indian consumer? Or will they keep the subsidy, or will they bring back the, or will they let the pass-through effect go through? Now the challenge is, if you bring back the subsidy, you're going to worsen the current account deficit. Eventually, you'll depreciate the rupee and have inflation, but there's a laggard effect at least. If you don't do that, then you will have a very real effect on inflation, and that could be a huge spoiler for Rajasthan and MP. Barring crude or barring Federal Reserve policy, I think the other sensitivity here is we know that the situation in Rajasthan is not as favorable for the BJP, whereas MP is. So if you take the collective outcome of these elections, now I did say that one election doesn't determine 2019. If you take the collective outcome of how did it in Karnataka, let's say Rajasthan is a loss, let's say they hold on to MP, this is still a very favorable situation for the party. Now, earlier you were asking what is the trend here, and I think a lot of the conversation is around Congress and JD have 116 seats, they can form a government, but we should think about it the other way. which is look how many seats Congress lost, look how many seats BJP picked up. This is a consistent trend that's been taking place in every state election we've seen. Gujarat was the only election that came down to the wire. Fine Congress, the one big win they've had so far is Punjab. That's about it. So you've seen systematic loss after loss, and the commonality here is, Rahul Gandhi. He's not capable of delivering wins for the party, and I think that has to be a bigger takeaway that hasn't been discussed here. If you head into 2019 with the same structures in place, no change in posture, then that's a problem for the party.
Okay, let me get Mohammed to respond to that. You're down now to Punjab and Puducherry. You're probably on your way to lose the one big state that you were left with, and there is a crisis of leadership, despite the fact that the Congress party was trying to project a resurgent Congress post Gujarat, but that doesn't seem to be playing out.
Well, I think it's very myopic to suggest that Rahulji's leadership is in question. The very fact that somebody was saying that somebody used the word right now, what was that word? They said that this is a party struggling for relevance. Well, the BJP's leadership doesn't seem to think so. Rahulji issues a tweet of 140 characters, and 4 cabinet ministers come down to try and convince the public not to take it seriously. He gave an answer, off-the-cuff answer to a question in Karnataka about prime ministerial ambitions, and the prime minister was so petrified the very next day he addressed the subject at length in his rally. They take Rahulji seriously because he has brought himself to that position. They cannot ignore him.
Okay, maybe now, the BJP takes him seriously, but what about voters, Mohammed? Why is it that state after state we're not being seen the Congress deliver on the goods?
Okay. So again, if voter turnout or voter preference is the metric, then by that measure itself, 38% of the people of Karnataka voted for Rahulji.
What other metric is there in politics?
So if you... No, so I'm using the same metric. And I'm saying even if you use that metric, Rahulji is more popular than Mr. Modi. In fact, he is significantly more popular than Mr. Modi was in 2014 now. But I understand your question, not to be bogged down in semantics. I understand. Look, we need to keep moving forward. We need to assess our strengths, build on our strengths, eliminate our weaknesses. Of course, what I'm saying is true. It's a truism. But the Congress has, even today, right, like you said, Shereen, they learned from you when you were talking to the BJP spokesperson. This is a much more aggressive Congress. We will keep taking these guys head on.
Mohammed, let me ask you a straightforward question. A man that you worked very closely, Jairam Ramesh, said it is absolutely imperative that the Congress stitch together alliances ahead of the 2019 election if it wants to continue to be relevant. Now it boils down to that. Whether or not it made sense for you to go with the JDS as a pre-poll alliance in Karnataka, as was being pointed out a short while ago by Alok, or not is a separate question. But your own party believes that to stay relevant, you will need to stitch together alliances ahead of 2019.
Well, that's a good point, and that has been endorsed by Rahulji as well. Going back to the same answer he gave with regard to the prime ministerial ambitions question, he said it depends. It depends on alliances. One of the conditions he put forth, aside from the fact that if we win, was it depends on alliances. We look to our allies with a lot of respect. We treat them as equals, as we did in UP, as we do elsewhere. And ultimately, we try and emerge as consensus builders. Rahulji brought together people in Gujarat. Rahulji brought people together here. He, in fact, gave complete autonomy. And this is a criticism you would level at us a year back, that you would say that Rahulji interferes too much in ticket selection. No, this time he gave complete autonomy to the local leadership, and they drove the campaign.
In a different world. I mean, like, I don't know which world they're living in.
Well, sir, as much as you would like us to be down and out, we will not be down and out. As long as there is,
the BJP party president is speaking. Let me very quickly wrap-up comments now from each of our guests. And Altaf, I'll start by asking you, the possibility of taking this matter to court if the governor's decision doesn't go your way.
It depends upon the BJP with the matter taking to court, and the governor has the discretion to take the decision. Now the Congress and GDS have set a
But are you really, as Yogendra was pointing out, and I'm not trying to preempt what the governor may or may not do, but the narrative coming in is that it's unlikely that the governor will rule in your favor.
Definitely,
so
because
what
as to the law of the land, law of the land, which permits gives the powers to the governor to welcome the alliance, and the largest party, the alliance party, which Congress and JDS has submitted to the governor, where the majority of 116 we have. BJP is very well, they're masters in marketing and their product as 104, and they are claiming for the single largest party. Now the alliance JDS and Congress is a party which has been is going to be from the government very soon.
Okay, that's your hope and that is your belief. Gentlemen, we will have to end the conversation here. BJP Party President Amit Shah speaking, and soon after that, Prime Minister Modi will speak. Yeah. Prime Minister Modi will speak. Alok, I'll give you the final say on what you believe is the biggest takeaway from the Karnataka verdict.
I think the biggest takeaway is that there is no one big takeaway. I think what we have seen is that Karnataka votes as 5 or 6 different regions, and no 2 regions seem to have voted alike. In Bangalore, it seems to have been status quo. Old Mysore, somewhat status quo. BJP has turned the tables in coastal Karnataka. Congress has swept Hyderabad, Karnataka. It's a very complex narrative, and I think the biggest takeaway is we shouldn't go by these linear examples that, either the Modi's effort helped, or it was polarization, or it was actually a vote against Siddharamaiah. These are all nice narratives to believe, but I think we should be careful of, taking one explain-all kind of situation.
Absolutely, we need to read between the lines and look at the nuances as well. Alok, Mohammed, Altaf, Yatish and Shailesh, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Thanks very much for your time, and I am sure that we're going to be speaking much more with you over the next few days as this story continues to play out. Let's take a quick break. When we return, the BJP party president speaking, we will listen in.